This is the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, Samsung's brand new foldable, and it is by far the thinnest and lightest foldable I've ever held. In fact, it is thinner and lighter than my iPhone 16 Pro Max, even when it's folded. All while packing the latest and greatest Samsung has to offer. It is running One UI 8 on top of Android 16, it is powered by the very beefy Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, and it has either 12 or 16 gigs of RAM, depending on the configuration. And guys, this just might be the one to make me switch. Let's ramble.
Hold up, things go wild when I pull up. They all on me like it wants.
So I've actually been playing around with this phone for a while now. I got a little taste of it at a hands-on press event organized by Samsung here in Brussels at the beginning of this month, where they basically showed off all the upcoming releases, including the Z Flip 7 by the way, which I will touch upon towards the end of this video. But yeah, the showstopper for me was definitely this Z Fold 7 and how incredibly thin it is compared to its predecessors and even compared to pretty much any modern smartphone, let alone a foldable. I did a review on the Samsung S25 Edge recently here on the channel, which also featured a very thin design, and I think that device was a first sneak peek into how much power Samsung is capable of packing into a super slim body like that. And as I was reviewing that phone, I was kind of hoping to see that technology transplanted into the new Fold as well. And Samsung actually exceeded my expectations with the Fold 7 because not only did it create an ultra thin device, but in terms of power under the hood, it actually exceeded the S25 Edge in many ways. Now, before I start sounding like a fangirl, no phone is perfect, and that is also true for the Fold 7 as well. There are definitely some things I would have liked to see differently, stuff I'm hoping they will address in the next iteration of the Fold, and we will talk about those points as well. But there's a lot to love about this thing, so let me take you through my experiences with the Z Fold 7 so far. After that very first brief hands-on opportunity in Brussels, I was so stoked when Samsung invited me to New York to join them for Samsung Unpacked, which is Samsung's main summer event where they typically launch their new foldables. Having left the house early, I used my time at the airport to fuel up a bit and get some work done before getting on that 8-hour flight to New York. Enjoying some content on the 11-inch iPad Pro does make that flight feel a little shorter, although I do have a sneaky suspicion I won't be needing this iPad on the way back. Shout out to Brussels Airlines for making this a very comfortable flight, and in true Belgian fashion, we received a lovely box of chocolates at the end of the flight. New York is my absolute favorite place in the world, and while I've come to know Manhattan quite well over the years, the event and our hotel are actually in Brooklyn, so I'm super excited to get to know this place a little bit better as well. Because of the time difference, we landed around 1 p.m, so we still had some hours left in the day to explore and to get to know each other a little bit. There are only 3 of us traveling from Belgium, 4 if you count our Samsung representative Helena, who has been nothing short of amazing this entire trip. She even made sure we arrived a day early so we could use that day to get rid of the jet lag, so it'd be fresh for the first official day of the event. Needless to say, I planned that day to visit my home away from home, New York City, since our first proper hands-on with the devices wasn't scheduled until the next day. However, that visit was short-lived when Helena texted us to say she got us a slot this afternoon, which meant it would be way less crowded and we'd have lots more time and space to film the devices. As much as I would have loved to spend the rest of my day in Manhattan, work comes first, and this opportunity was too good to pass up. And man, I'm so glad I listened to her, because once we arrived at the location, we had the entire testing space to ourselves. I cannot tell you what a luxury this is, knowing how incredibly crowded these events can get, and everyone wants to get their hands on these new devices. All the new devices were there to be checked out, but let's be honest, the Fold 7 is what I was really here for, so I won't be spending too much time with the Flip 7 and the Flip 7 FE. I will be reviewing the Flip 7, but let's keep that for another video. Now, while I was able to use the Fold 7 for a couple of minutes back in Brussels, I was once again stunned by how thin and how light they made it. There's absolutely no gap in the hinge, and the crease is becoming less visible with every iteration of the Fold. You can only see it when you're looking at the screen from a certain angle, but when you're using it head-on like you would, it is completely invisible. And having a screen brightness of up to 2600 nits definitely helps with that. Speaking of the display, the Fold 7 has an 8-inch dynamic AMOLED main display with a resolution of 2184 by 1968 pixels. When it's folded, the cover display is about 6.5 inches with a resolution of 2520 by 1080. That also means the front display has become wider to a point where it's almost as wide as your typical flagship smartphone, which means things like typing are a lot more comfortable on the front display, and honestly, you could use it folded for most things now. But that doesn't mean you should, because that main 8-inch display is of course where the magic happens, and it is an absolute treat to use, especially with apps and games that take full advantage of the display, like Oddmar, the game I'm playing here, turning this phone into a perfect handheld gaming device. What you won't see on this device is an S Pen, and I know that's gonna upset some of you guys. Personally, I'm not much of a stylus user, so it's not really super relevant to me, but I can see how that might be frustrating for some of you. The lower end model, if you can even call it that, starts at 12 gigabytes of RAM and comes with 256 gigabytes of space, but as we are used to from Samsung, you can upgrade the storage to 512 gigabytes for free if you pre-order the device, and I would obviously recommend you to do that since 256 gigs really isn't that much these days, especially if you plan on using the awesome camera system on this thing, and we will be doing plenty of camera tests throughout the video. The camera system has always been a bit of a weak spot on these foldables, but I'm happy to say that this is no longer the case with the Fold 7. In fact, Samsung put the same 200 megapixel main camera as we saw on the S25 Ultra on this Fold and still managed to make the module a little bit smaller. That doesn't mean it doesn't wobble anymore when laid flat on a table. It does. A lot. But hey, that is a sacrifice I'm very willing to make for superior image quality. The telephoto lens is still the same one as before, meaning 10 megapixels and a 3x optical zoom. The ultra-wide did get a little upgrade. It is still 12 megapixels, but the sensor is a bit larger, which means it will let in more light and will perform better in low light situations. And it now also supports macro photography, which is new to the Fold as well. The front camera is the same as the one on the inside. Both are 10 megapixels, nothing spectacular, but plenty for things like video calls. The thing is though, you won't really be needing this camera to take selfies because this is a foldable, which means you can use the big boy camera on the back to take your selfies and use the outer display as a camera monitor. I love that feature. Now, some people will probably have something to say about the fact that Samsung abandoned the under display camera and now we have that hole punch again. Personally, I don't really care. I'm used to having Apple's pill-shaped dynamic island anyway, and a hole punch really just becomes a blind spot after a bit of usage, especially on that 8-inch inner display. And also because it's not hidden behind the screen anymore, the camera quality did improve a little. Now, while the camera hardware is great, what really impressed me is Samsung's implementation of AI. I mean, it's implemented throughout the phone, and combining Gemini with Google Assistant is a breath of fresh air coming from Siri, who, let's face it, is still pretty useless. But the way Samsung has refined the AI in the camera system is next level useful. This is the TicNote by Mobvoi, and it is the world's first agentic AI note taker. Now you might be thinking, with all the AI these phones have on board, can't I just use my phone for this? And while you can use your phone as an AI recorder, there are a couple of very good reasons why a standalone device is a good idea. First of all, when you're using your phone as a recorder, you can't really use it for other stuff at the same time. The TicNote will give you 20 days of standby time and 25 hours of continuous recording on a single charge. You're not going to get that on a phone. And maybe most importantly, I really don't want to be sticking my phone into people's faces every time I want to record a meeting. This is way more discreet. You can put it pretty much anywhere. It's literally the size of a credit card. I sometimes even slip it into a front pocket and not worry about it for the rest of the meeting. Besides, TicNote is more than a voice recorder. It's a smart agentic note-taking device that captures, transcribes, and summarizes your meetings, phone calls, lectures, etc., all powered by Mobvoi's Shadow AI. It comes with a little charging cable, a MagSafe wallet, and an adhesive ring in case your phone does not have MagSafe built in. I already have a Samsung's magnet case for the Fold 7 on pre-order, so that will be absolutely perfect for this. So this thing is basically a dual recorder. When the toggle is switched up, it is in call recording mode, where it can actually record both sides of the call using the phone's vibrations, which is pretty awesome. And switching the toggle toggle down puts it in speaker mode, which is ideal for recording meetings either live or online. And to show you guys how powerful this software really is, I recorded a segment of the Waveform podcast, which has several hosts, covering Samsung's recent Unpacked event in New York. As soon as I connected back to the Fold, the app spits out a really comprehensive summary, putting everything into neat segments, and it even creates a to-do list and some AI suggestions. Oh, and it can translate everything for you in more than 100 languages. You can also get the entire transcript if that's what you need, with actual speaker labels. If you're someone who prefers visual representations of a meeting, take a look at this awesome mind map. The aha feature grabs a remarkable moment from the meeting and shines a light on that. A very neat little feature. But what is really impressive is the deep research tab, which created a research outline based on what was said during the podcast, and it allows you to take a much deeper dive into those subjects. Now, of course, the Fold 7 has a beautiful big display, but if you prefer sitting at your desk for this kind of stuff, TicNote Studio will be your best friend, where you will see all the same options on a nice big desktop version. And if you ever need help finding something, just ask Shadow to do it for you. Absolutely love this thing, and if you want to try it out for yourself, as always, links will be in the description below. Right, back to the video. We've all seen the demos of Apple's object removal looking pretty awful. It is the polar opposite of what I'm seeing here. You can just draw a circle around an object, the AI snaps onto that object perfectly, and the generative fill does an absolutely stellar job. You literally won't be able to tell that there used to be an object there, which is exactly what you want. Every detail on the table is filled in perfectly. We will be getting our own review units at some point during this trip, probably after tomorrow's main event, and I believe they will take us on a photo tour in Bushwick, which is full of beautiful graffiti art, so we will be able to really put this camera to the test. This hands-on experience got me even more excited about this phone, and I can't wait for the main event later on this week. Now, one of the things I love most about these trips is that I get to see some of my creator friends that I speak to all the time, but that I don't really get to see very often because we all live in different countries. Whenever I travel to the US, I pretty much double my food intake, so I try to get a workout in whenever I can to offer at least some kind of counterbalance. So Mark and I decided to be good boys and hit the gym before heading for an absolute calorie bomb of a breakfast. But you know what? We're gonna put those calories to good use, because today is the Unpacked event, followed by the Unpacked party in the evening, and I'm super excited for both of them. Equal parts the event and seeing my buddies. The event was super well organized, and Helena came through with the review unit, thankfully in the beautiful blue color, and man, tearing off that protective layer for the first time never gets old. Once we got our units, it was back to the hotel to freshen up, edit some footage, and get ready for the party. Benelux crew in the building. It was a great time meeting old friends and making new ones, and you guessed it, more food. The view of the New York skyline from this place was absolutely spectacular, and a little surprise performance by Jaden and Willow Smith. John and his buddy absolutely cracked me up with their new swag. Let's just say they did a little shopping on Canal Street. No after party for me today. I have a lot of editing to do. I've been going on a few hours of sleep per night for way too long now, and tomorrow is going to be a long day of walking, so I need to chill. Hitting the gym super early means having breakfast by yourself. But honestly, I kind of like those quiet moments, and it gives me an opportunity to set up this phone a little bit more. Yes, I'm eating pancakes again, don't judge me. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? I was running a bit late, so I had to take an Uber to Bushwick for the photo tour, but thankfully I arrived just in time to join the rest of them. I get why they chose this place to test the camera, because the colors this camera produces are absolutely stunning. Full disclosure, I'm a big fan of the iPhone camera system, you already know this, especially for video, but man, I'm not gonna lie, I can get used to these Samsung cameras. But like I said earlier, it is the AI that really steals the show here. If you thought the object removal on that table earlier was impressive, get a load of this. As you can see, this beautiful graffiti piece is blocked by a bunch of wood pallets and some other trash. The best I've ever seen an AI object removal do in this case is remove the object clean, but leave a blank wall behind it. Samsung's object removal is so clever that it actually scrapes the internet for existing images of this particular art piece, and it uses generative fill to fill in the blanks. And the result is insane. It actually recreated the missing parts of the art piece to near perfection. Next up is Dumbo, an area of Brooklyn known for its spectacular views of Manhattan and of course the iconic bridge view. If you own a TV or an internet connection, there is a 100% chance you've seen this shot before. the perfect place to test this camera some more. We stayed in the area to go for a little sushi dinner at night, which was a nice change from all the heavy food, and unlike any regular social gathering, being on your phone was actually encouraged. By the time we got out, it was dark, and just look at the low light images the Fold 7 produces. I mean, this is beautiful. Now, Samsung is Korean, so the only real way to close off this night was by hitting up a dodgy karaoke bar somewhere in Koreatown. Don't worry, I won't sing for you guys, but I did manage to get some more shots with the Fold 7. Like all good things, this trip had to come to an end, and I was a bit sad to leave. It's kind of funny how close you can get to some people in just a few days when you spend a lot of time together. Thankfully, Samsung did put us on an evening flight, and with a time difference, that means we land in the morning local time. So if I do manage to get some sleep on this flight, my brain might actually be tricked into thinking I got a good night's rest. And as I expected, the Fold 7 is a perfect all-in-one device for flights like this. No tablet needed. I will be reviewing this thing in way more detail after a few weeks when I've spent some serious time with it, and I'll also be reviewing the Flip 7, so definitely hit subscribe if you haven't already if you want to follow up on that stuff. Once again, I want to give a huge thank you to Helena for being such a perfect host. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.